Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary, and we come to you directly from 22 Akbar Road. That's the residence of the sports minister. This is the second time around. The wrestlers are in talks with Anurag Thakur inside. Second round, viewers. Yesterday, 10:30 p.m., the wrestlers had gone inside only to emerge at 2 a.m. in the morning. Yesterday evening, before they went in, they were not happy with the way things were being handled. 2 a.m., it seemed that there was some headway. But mind you, and we have to keep reiterating that fact, that the sports ministry is not a stakeholder when it comes down to the Wrestling Federation of India. It's an independent body, democratically elected, and there is zero interference. So that would also mean that even if the sports ministry asks Mr. Sharan to step down pending inquiry or try to sack him, it can't. It has absolutely no dibs. It would have to come in through the federation. Let me quickly also tell you two big developments that has happened in the last 24 hours, and one is a non-development of sorts, because Mr. Sharan, who through the course of the day, through various reactions to the press, posturing, indicated that he's going to hold an explosive press conference at about 5 p.m., reveal all names. He did reveal one, Dipinder Hooda from the Congress. He blamed yesterday in an exclusive interview to India Today, saying that this is an entire conspiracy by the Congress, put together, stitched together by none else but Dipinder Hooda. But having said that, through the course, he maintained he's going to reveal more names, and the entire blueprint of this conspiracy is what he called it. He's cancelled that. So no development there, so no press conference there. We're going to maybe now know more on the 22nd, which is the day after, where the meet of the Indian Wrestling Federation of India takes place. On the other account, the wrestlers in question, all of them, have now lodged an official complaint with the IOA, headed by PT Usha. It's an official complaint that has been given by the wrestlers. Lots of questions also being asked. Number one, why is it that the wrestlers are not, lodging an FIR? What's the reason? Well, they want to put the onus on the federation as well as speaking to the sports minister, hoping that if really no tangible pressure, because the sports ministry is not a stakeholder, but there will be other kinds of pressure that would be put on Mr. Sharan so that he steps down. So a lot happening. Will this meeting be conclusive? Well, other than promises, assurances, there can be nothing conclusive that comes out of this meeting, viewers, because once again, the sports ministry really cannot do much but to maybe morally, pressurize Mr. Sharan to step down. But with what we have seen of Mr. Sharan in the last 24 hours, he doesn't seem to be the kind of individual who will succumb to moral pressure. It also seems that he's not someone who's actually going to get weighed in by the whip of the Bharatiya Janata Party. I want to now quickly, bring in my colleague Nikhil Nas, who's joining us, who was with me here last night while we tracked the developments till about 2 a.m. Nikhil, one quick question. What is interesting is that Mr. Sharan, who was to have a press conference at 5 p.m., has decided to cancel it. Is there anything going now in the background? Are there any pulls, pressures, tugs, or he's just going to wait out for the federation meet on the 22nd, and a lot would depend on the members of the federation, where they stand?
It's very interesting to note that, Preeti, because earlier the kind of information that we were receiving from his camp was that he will hold a press conference. Remember, he did give in India Today an interview earlier as well, in which he defended all the charges that were levied against him. After which he said that, listen, I will give a written reply. We were waiting for that press conference. They've sent that written reply, of course, to the sports ministry. After which we thought that there will be a press conference. It was scheduled at 3 o'clock. Then it got pushed to 4 p.m. and then later to 5 p.m. And now we're getting to know that there will be no press conference at all. And he's eventually only going to speak after that meeting of the Wrestling Federation on the 22nd. So I guess he must have had a few advisors advising him what step he must take. What that also kind of tells you that maybe the pressures that we were expecting to be exerted from the political side, maybe the BJP or anything to do with moral grounds, that's clearly had no impact on Brij Bhushan Sharan at the moment. His advisors would have clearly told him that, listen, legally, you have the right to continue. Nothing has been proven against you. Judicially, the sports ministry can't do much at the moment. So until such time that the members of the Wrestling Federation that are made up of all the state association, they decide to vote you out, there is no reason for you to step down. Secondly, he may have thought that maybe because the details are still clear, and I think where you are at the moment, that meeting is also going to be very crucial, because since all the issues couldn't be discussed last night whilst we were there, and now certain issues might come to light now, maybe he wants to wait, get to know all the details, all the charges that have been leveled against him. Because if you remember, he's also mentioning the goalpost has been changing and fresher allegations are coming his way. So maybe he wants to wait out on that after there is a press conference by the sports ministry or even the wrestlers, after which he may want to come out and speak to the media. But as of now, what we're getting to hear, he's saying, no, I do not want to address the media. I'll do it after the 22nd, after I've spoken to all the stakeholders in the Wrestling Federation.
You know, all the pressures that we talk about, and, it's a good time to bring in Rahul Srivastav, who's very well tuned to the politics of Uttar Pradesh. Rahul, for someone who knows UP politics by the back of his hand, I want to ask you a quick question. Mr. Sharan hardly looks the type who will succumb to moral pressure or a political pressure of any sorts, even though if it comes from his own party, which is the BJP right now.
Yes, Preeti, he's not the kind to succumb to pressure. Remember that he wins the seat on his own and he eventually affiliates to a political party. That winnability element endears him to all political parties that he's been part of in the past. Now, the factor here is that if he succumbs to the pressure and gives in, that is an admission of guilt. Will be become virtually an admission of guilt. If the BJP, his party or the government acts against him, it will be also mean that it is some kind of admission that under pressure, Saran asked to go, and eventually there is some sense of guilt, and at that the kind of political fallout both are having. One, not asking him to go because that is definitely hurting the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and the kind of posturing that the BJP has been doing over the last few years. But it is also feared that if the BJP and the government acts against Mr. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, then it will be accepted that a member of parliament from the BJP in Uttar Pradesh has done things which do not really go well as far as the BJP's ideological position vis-a-vis women is concerned. That is why I think there is some sense of space for Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh to operate. Otherwise, in a party like the BJP, it's very difficult for a leader to get away with this. But we have seen increasingly Sadhvi Pragya, Mr. Teni, Ajay Teni, and now Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. The BJP doesn't do what the Congress used to, that if there is pressure from the opposition, public perception and others, the ministers were asked to resign, MPs were acted against. That doesn't happen here because nobody wants admission of guilt.
Right. I want to bring in Rahul, stay with me. I want to ask you another quick question right now as I also bring in Alka Tomar. Well, she's a wrestler herself, as well as Amit Srivastav, my colleague who's been Amit Bhardwaj, who's been tracking all the details on what's going on inside where the players are concerned. I also still have Nikhil Nas. But Rahul, very quickly, if I can get you in on this. The sports ministry, as Nikhil has clearly elucidated, really has no dibs. No stakeholders cannot really sack him or ask him to step down. At best, just morally tell him that, you should, or advise him to step down. Having said that, the BJP would be, including the government, would be treading very cautiously this time. They don't want to appear to be anti-wrestlers, anti-athletes. They, they went the other side in terms of perception when it came down to talks with, the farmers initially when things started breaking down. They don't want a similar narrative to be woven by the opposition this time.
I think the BJP doesn't want to act in haste, because usually whenever it has been seen in the past politically, when a political party acts in haste, especially in the Congress UPA time, Preeti, we saw that it becomes the narrative that, see, action has been taken by the party or the government, and eventually there is a sense of guilt in it. And that's why I will say that it might take a bit of time, and see the kind of tactics that Mr. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh can employ is that if he wants to call a meeting and wants to take it to the federation, he wants to have the meeting in Ayodhya. Now that's very close to him. That's his territory. And remember, in this
Mhm.
territory, though he has been at cross purposes and he has crossed his roads with, as far as Yogi Adityanath is concerned, these two leaders don't get along. Still, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh holds sway in
Right.
that region. That indicates it might, and that is what he wants to play on his own territory.
Well, you're right there. He's a six-time Lok Sabha MP for no mean feat. But quickly bringing in Amit Srivastava and Alka Tomar into this conversation. तोमर जी, मैं आपसे वही सवाल पूछना चाहूंगी, आपकी इसमें रुख है कि इन लड़कियों ने पहले कुछ नहीं बोला। देखिए, आप भी महिलाएं, आपको भी पता है, हिम्मत लगती है बहुत सारी और नंबर्स में स्ट्रेंथ आती है। तो अगर देर आए दुरुस्त आए, अगर कुछ बोल रही हैं तो सुनना क्यों नहीं चाहिए? अलका तोमर जी, आपको आवाज आ रही है?
जी मैम, दोबारा से एक बार बोलेंगे?
जी मैम, आपसे यही सवाल पूछ रही हूँ क्योंकि आप एक खिलाड़ी हैं जो जिनका रुख थोड़ा अलग है। आप कह रही हैं लड़कियों ने पहले कुछ नहीं बोला, पुलिस कंप्लेन क्यों नहीं की? आपको भी पता है, बहुत हिम्मत लगती है। कभी कभार जब और लोग आपके साथ इकट्ठे होते हैं तो हौसला और बढ़ता है। तो वो तो गलत बात है ना मैम बोलना?
मैं ये नहीं बोल रही, मैं कहना चाह रही हूँ कि अगर आपके साथ हुआ है तो आपको तभी एक्शन लेना चाहिए था, बस ये कहने का है। और मैं भी एक लड़की हूँ, मेरी भी एक बेटी है, मैं भी इसी खेल से आती हूँ, मैं भी अपने खिलाड़ियों का सम्मान करती हूँ, मुझे पता है ये मेडल कैसे आते हैं, कितनी मेहनत से आते हैं। तो मैं उनके खिलाफ नहीं बोल रही हूँ, मैं ये कह रही हूँ जब आपके साथ ये हुआ था तभी आवाज हमारी उठानी चाहिए थी, तभी हमको इन खिलाड़ियों को साथ लेकर चलना चाहिए था। विनेश भी कैंप में रहती है, बजरंग भी हमारे साथ है, साक्षी भी हमारे साथ थी तब से, तो तभी हमने आवाज क्यों नहीं उठाई?
मैम, क्योंकि तब आवाज नहीं उठाई, आपको भी पता है पूरा मी टू कैंपेन हुआ है जिसमें अगर आप देखें तो बहुत लोगों ने सालों बाद आवाज उठाई है, क्योंकि हिम्मत लगती है। कभी कभार आपको लगता है आप बहुत बड़े आदमी के सामने नहीं बोल सकते, जब आपको लगता है कि काम आपके साथ 5-6 आवाज और हैं तो करेज बढ़ता है। तो इसमें क्या गलत है? तब नहीं बोले, अब बोले, अगर हम इसमें लग जाएं तो फिर जो मुद्दा है वो तो छूट ही जाएगा।
गलत कर रहे हैं आवाज उठा के, मैंने ये नहीं कहा, मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि आप गलत कर रहे हो आवाज उठा के, लेकिन जहां तक मैंने देखा,
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि पहले कहना चाहिए था?
हाँ, बस मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि पहले ही जब हमारे साथ हुआ था या और लड़कियों के साथ हो रहा था तो हमें आवाज अपनी ऐसे ही तभी उठानी चाहिए थी, ये नौबत आगे नहीं आती जो इतना आगे ये गए
आपके
हैं।
साथ कभी ऐसा कुछ वाकया हुआ है?
बिल्कुल नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं, मेरे साथ ऐसा कोई वाकया नहीं हुआ। अगर मेरे साथ होता मैं आवाज अपनी उठाती।
आपके साथ नहीं हुआ?
नहीं, मेरे साथ नहीं हुआ, ना कोई मेरी किसी साथी के साथ हुआ है। मैं एज ए
अलका जी बने रहिए हमारे साथ।
2011 में ये रेसलिंग छोड़ी है, फिर उसके बाद मैं
अलका जी बने रहिए। आई जस्ट वांट टू कट अक्रॉस टू जी अलका जी. Amit, my colleague who's joining us, he's been actually tracking the players on where they stand. And one question, Amit, because we're trying to, play sometimes here as well, the devil's advocate. On the other side, there's a huge group which is asking why no police complaint. Why is that the wrestlers who have alleged sexual assault haven't lodged a criminal complaint? Why haven't they approached the police? The police is free to take suo motu cognizance as well and lodge an FIR. They haven't. But in the case, why haven't these wrestlers? What is it that they have to say on that account?
Well, Preeti, this question is being asked from all these protesting wrestlers from day one, that we do understand that, the voices were not raised in the past, and but now that you are protesting at Jantar Mantar, why are you not filing an official police complaint? There are two responses to this particular question that we must have heard from Bajrang Punia, Vinesh Fogart coming out. Number one is that they want this matter to get solved within the sports arena, that is the Wrestling Federation of India and the Sports Ministry. They want the officials, the government to take action and sack Mr. Brij Bhushan Singh for the allegations which is being labelled against him. Now there's an official complaint filed with the IOA it is up to the IOA and the investigative committees which will be formed from here on to act and investigate the entire matter. But there is also a cultural context to the entire chapter, Preeti. We must understand. Like these wrestlers are saying
Stay with
that...
me. I want to bring in Nikhil Naz very quickly.
Wrestling.
Yeah, you're right. There is a huge cultural context to it. I'm cutting you short. I apologize. And the reason I'm doing so is I want to quickly bring in Nikhil Naz because you talk about the IOA now investigating. So, Nikhil, I just want closing comments because, we're running out of time. But for people to understand, who were a little confused. In the beginning, a 3-member panel was set up, 72 hours given. What happens to that now? What happens to what's happening inside? Because there is now already a complaint with the IOA. On the other hand, there is now a meeting, of the Federation on the 22nd in Ayodhya. Contextualize everything.
Well, I think the first and the most important meeting now will be the Wrestling Federation meeting, because there itself, democratically, the members would have to decide whether Brij Bhushan Sharan should continue on or not. If let's say there is a scenario where the members decide that no, on moral grounds, he should step aside pending an inquiry, then he'd have to do that. He'll have no option left at the moment. Of course, the IOA is also a body which the Wrestling Federation is affiliated to. They all follow the Olympic Charter, but there again, they will not have the jurisdiction of impeaching him. Then there is the Sports Ministry that's also looking into this entire matter. And the Sports Ministry, as I said earlier, also can't do much. But from the fact that de-recognize the Wrestling Federation, and at best when they de-recognize the Wrestling Federation, all they can do is ensure that no funds then are given to the National Federation, which the Sports Ministry gives on an annual basis. That is roughly around 70 lakh rupees that they give every National Federation. So that might be stopped at an immediate basis. So that's what's going to happen. But as I said, the most important meeting now is going to be the Wrestling Federation meeting that is going to be taking place in the home turf of
Nikhil, before I go into a break,
Goa.
I'm sorry, I might be exceeding my time there, but I want to ask you that question. It comes down to the Wrestling Federation and the meeting. I want to know how many members in the Wrestling Federation, who comprises of the Wrestling Federation. Do you, can you give us a basic sense?
So there will be 29 members based on each state, and that's how it's divided. And each of them then have 2 votes. So there are 2 votes per state association. So you'd have to do your math. That should be about 58 votes, if I'm not mistaken, on last count. So those many members then sit down to vote. I think you would need a 2/3 majority to impeach the existing president. And I think that's pretty common amongst all federations that you have. Once you reach that majority, that is when then you can ask the president to step aside. So I'm just putting it briefly based on what I remember as far as the number of members and the number of votes that you get.
And those 2 appointees from each state, are they political appointments?
No, they are also democratically elected within the state association. So states then are distributed amongst districts. Each district is then represented by a member. Then they go through a voting process, and then there are office bearers there. And then this association then gets 2 votes to vote. And then this is decided jointly by the association and not by an individual as such.
Right. All right. I appreciate all you joining us, gentlemen. Thank you. And Ms. Tomar, appreciate it as well. Viewers, there are a lot of layers to the story. Understandably, we're going to try and peel each and every layer. But the overpowering issue, and it must be overpowering. And let's keep away all the, the cliches that we hear about Beti Bachao, about Behens, about women. It's got nothing to do with them. It's about our Olympians who've made a very, very grave charge, who actually have looked you, the viewer, in the camera while sitting on a cold evening in Jantar Mantar and asked you, why don't you believe us? The same women who you stood up proudly and clapped when they were adorning the tricolour as they made a podium finish. Think about it.